What's up, my amazing geometry students? This is going to be a video key, all right? I had this idea because you guys are going to be working on the review at home, and I just thought, hey, if you can't ask me questions, what if I just record myself going over every single question? So that's going to be what this is. You don't have to watch this whole thing, all right? You can skip to the questions that maybe you're having trouble on, or maybe you just want to watch the whole thing. I don't know. It's a resource, all right, for you to use as best as you see fit, okay? So I say helpful hint, you should draw a picture for every problem if you can. Super important in geometry, all right? So we're going to be talking about some specific words, all right, that you should be looking for in the problems. And those words are going to tell you how you should solve the problem. So the first word is the word between, all right? If you see the word between, like right here, it says point D lies between A and B, okay? So if that is the case, you want to draw your picture. You want to draw A and B, and you want to put point D somewhere in between, all right? Then it's probably going to give you some pieces to the puzzle, right? So it says AD is 3x plus 1, all right? Cool. So this right here is 3x plus 1. DB is 2x minus 4. 2x minus 4. Then it says AB is x plus 17. So notice A to B is actually the whole thing. So that's x plus 17. So this problem is a little bit different in the fact that they don't give us a whole number. They give us 3 expressions, okay? But you set up your equation the same way, all right? Part plus part equals whole, all right? AD plus DB equals AB. So in our equation, this part right here, this is what's going to be alone on the other side of the equal sign. That's what the other two things are equaling. It's the whole length. So your equation is going to be 3x plus 1 plus 2x minus 4 equals x plus 17, all right? Now you can go through. So when things are on the same side, like all these things on the left, we're going to combine like terms. So 3x plus 2x, that's 5x. 1 minus 4 is negative 3. So that equals x plus 17. Now, when you have x's on both sides, all right, you need to move one of your x's to the other side. So I'm going to subtract by x on both sides. So that gives me 4x minus 3. These cancel out, so it equals 17. Now I can add 3 on both sides. 4x equals 20. And then if I divide by 4, all right, that gives me x equals 5. So our answer for this problem was x equals 5. All right, so if you see the word between, you're probably going to have this scenario set up. The next word you want to look for is midpoint, all right? Midpoint is important because you can't just assume every point is a midpoint. D is not a midpoint here, all right? And I tried to draw it to show you that. But if it tells you that F is a midpoint, that means it's right in the middle, all right? So if we have A and we have B, F is going to be exactly in the middle. All right, so I'm trying to draw it in the middle. But we know both sides are going to be the same. So if it says midpoint, maybe draw that in. So AF is 3x plus 5. AB, wow, AB is 9x minus 20. You got to make sure you're reading, all right? This isn't 9x minus 20. That's FB, right? It says AB. Then it says find the length of AB. So, man, they're getting tricky on this review, all right? So what do we do here? Because we don't know what this is, right? Well, not exactly. We do know what that is because we know both sides are the same, right? If AF is 3x plus 5, therefore, this must also be 3x plus 5 because we know these sides are the same, all right? Now, normally when we do midpoint, we just set these two things equal to each other, but since they are the same, that's not going to help us. So we're actually going to do this the same way that we did the first problem, all right? Now that we have our part, and whole, okay? So part plus part equals whole. So we've got 3x plus 5 plus 3x plus 5 equals 9x minus 20. And again, we're going to solve this the same way, all right? We got to combine like terms. So 3x plus 3x, that makes 6x. 5 plus 5, that makes 10. Now we need to subtract one of our x's. I like subtracting the smaller x. That way you always have a whole number. So I'm going to subtract 6x. That gives us 10 equals 3x minus 20. Now we can add 20 to both sides as we start solving for x. 30 equals 3x. Divide by 3 and we get x equals 10. All right. And that's how you would do this problem. You just got to know when you see midpoint, both sides are going to be the same. All right. The next problem that we're going to talk about is distance. All right. Distance. How do you find length? This could be length or distance. All right. Find the perimeter of the triangle. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. Oh no, we have to find the perimeter of the triangle. So when you want to find the perimeter, right, that means you're adding together all the side lengths. Okay, we did this, a bunch of these in class, all right? And when you're adding together the side lengths, all right, so let's, for example, talk about this side length right there. We need to make a little triangle, right? Because that's diagonal. You can't count a diagonal, but you can count vertically. That's 1. You can also count horizontally. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so this length is going to be 5. So I'm going to say this is side 1, all right? Once you've got the lengths of your right triangle, now we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So we've got 1 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. So we need to solve this, all right? 1 plus 5 is 1, plus 25 equals c squared. 1 plus 25, that's 26. Now, we were messing this up on our quiz, all right? Once you're at this point, to get rid of the squared, you have to take the square root, all right? So c equals the square root of 26, all right? Now, since it says round your answer to the nearest tenth, we can turn this into a decimal. So I'm actually going to go to Desmos. You guys can use whatever calculator you want. If you want to use Desmos, you can use that. But we just need to figure out the square root of 26. So the square root of 26 is 5.099. That will round to 5.1. All right. So c equals 5.1. Cool. Our next problem, we need to figure out a new side. So I'm going to do this side right here. All right. So I counted up 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I count over 2. All right. So this time we have 2 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. So 2 squared is 4. 4 squared is 16. Now we add these together. We get 20 equals c squared. Square root both sides. C equals the square root of 20. Again, I'm kind of going through this fast, but this is more just showing you what to do rather than like explaining everything. Because if you want to go back and watch the video on this, you can. All right. So square root of 20, 4.47. That rounds to 4.5. Last problem, number 3. All right. We have to make our triangle again. All right, so this is 1, 2, 3. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we have 3 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. 3 squared is 9. 5 squared is 25. 25 plus 9, that's 34. So c equals the square root of 34. I'm going to guess this is going to be about 5.8. I'm really just guessing right now. I'm good. 5.8. All right, 5.83. That rounds down. So C equals 5.8. So now we have our 3 side lengths. So to find perimeter, all right, we're just going to add them together because it's all all your sides added together. We have 3 sides here. So 5.1 plus 4.5 plus 5.8. I'm going to go back to Desmos and type those in. 5.1 plus 4.5 plus 5.8, that's 15.4. So our final answer, our perimeter, is 15.4. Cool, all right? Next problem, midpoint formula, all right? The midpoint formula, if you don't remember, the midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 over 2, and then y1 plus y2 over 2. So remember, your x's go together and your y's go together. So if we label our points here, xy, xy, all right? Our x values are 2 plus 4. Our y values are -5 plus 3. 2 plus 4 is 6. -5 plus 3 is -2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. -2 divided by 2 is -1. So our midpoint is 3, -1. All right. So remember, you should be giving me your midpoint as a point. All right. Parentheses, comma, parentheses, right, with your 2 numbers in between. Don't just write 2 numbers. Right. That's not a midpoint. So that's how you would do this problem. Segment addition. All right. This is very similar to the first one we did, all right? It's pretty much the same thing because we're seeing the word between, all right? The only thing here is that they're actually giving us multiple things. So it says A lies between M and P, all right? So we need to start drawing. We've got M to P, and we've got A somewhere in between. Now it also says P lies between A and R. So that means there's another point out here, R, right, on the other side of P. P is between A and R. So we actually have 4 things going on here, all right? So they tell us AP is 2x plus 1. PR is 10 minus x. MA is x minus 5. And MR is 60. So this doesn't change just because we have 3 parts, all right? It's still all the parts added together to equal the whole, all right? MA, this distance, plus this distance, plus this distance needs to equal 60, all right? So we're going to have a pretty big equation here, but that's okay. We're going to do x minus 5 plus 2x plus 1 plus 10 minus x equals 60, all right? We need to solve this. We have a lot of combining like terms to do over here. We have x plus 2x minus x, so 1 plus 2 is 3, minus 1 is back to 2, so we have 2x. Then we have -5 plus 1 plus 10. So that is -5 plus 1 is -4, plus 10 is 6. So you got 2x plus 6 equals 60. Now we can start solving. Subtract by 6 on both sides. 2x equals 54. Divide by 2. X equals 27. Yes. All right. So segment addition, right? All the parts add together to equal the whole. All right. Next, we're going to start talking about some angles. All right. We did those either this week or last week, depending on when you're watching this. So vertical angles, all right? If you remember, vertical angles mean that our angles are congruent. So that's what it's telling us right here. Angle A equals angle B, they're congruent. And so they also tell us that angle A is 3 times x minus 1, and angle B is 99 plus x. So if they're congruent, what do we do? All right, well, just like midpoint, we know that these 2 angles are going to equal each other. All right. So we set them equal to each other, and now we need to solve this. Okay, so we're going to distribute here to get rid of the parentheses. Now we need to cancel out one of our x's, so I'm going to subtract that x from both sides. That gives us 2x minus 3 equals 99. Now we can start solving, so add by 3. 2x equals 102. Divide by 2, x equals 51. Wow, those were pretty big angles. Find the value of x. Yep, all right, so we're done. So vertical angles are congruent, set them equal to each other. All right, number 7, we have a linear pair, all right? So a linear pair, if you can remember, is two angles that make a line, which means they add up to 180. So for our linear pair, all right, we've got angle 1, that's x squared, x squared minus 4x. This one is 4x plus 116, all right? So now we're going to add those together, and we're going to make them equal to 180 degrees, all right? That is our fun fact about linear pairs, okay? They have to add up to 180 degrees. So what are we going to do, all right? Well, we are going to combine like terms. So negative 4x plus 4x, well, those actually cancel out, right? So those are going to go away. So we're going to have x squared plus 116 equals 180. So now we want to start solving. So we're going to subtract 116 from both sides. That gives us x squared equals 64. And now remember, to get rid of a squared, you're going to take the square root of both sides. These will cancel out, and the square root of 64 is 8. So our answer for this one will be x equals 8. So even though it looked hard at first, we had this x squared, right? These two terms in the middle ended up canceling, and we could then just take the square root of both sides. The next problem we have is angle addition, all right? Angle addition, so you're going to have a big angle, and then you're going to have two smaller angles that add up to it. So we have our angle here, and it says D is an interior point of ABC. So interior, that means on the inside, right? So I'm going to draw a line up to point D right there, and I'm going to label that. And then it tells us ABD is 75 degrees. So I'm going to draw that in, 75 degrees. Then we have DBC. DBC, that's this one right here, right? That's 25 degrees. So did I make my picture good? No, right? But it doesn't matter. It's all about labeling it, right? Who cares that the 25 looks bigger than the 75? All right, so draw in point D, and it says, then find the measure of ABC. So ABC is our whole thing. All right, so this one's actually not bad. We don't even have an x to solve for. We just got to figure out what is the whole thing. Well, if we have 75 degrees and 25 degrees, all right, this is angle addition, so we're going to add those together. So 75 plus 25, that's going to equal 100 degrees, right? And that's going to be the angle of ABC. So that's really all we had to do for that problem. All right, they just wanted to see if we knew that this part of the angle plus this part made the whole thing. 3 more questions left. I know this has been a long video, but that's okay. Just go to the questions you need. Complementary. I don't know if that complementary is spelled right. I'm questioning that now. Okay, anyway, A and B are complementary, okay? And it says A and B are in a 7-to-11 ratio. So this was on your practice, all right, for the last assignment. Whenever they tell you this, all right, they're in a 7-to-11 ratio. What you're going to do with that is make this equation whatever the numbers are in the ratio. All right, 7x plus 11x, and since it's complementary, they equal 90. All right. When you do this, you're going to add 7 and 11 together, so that's 18x. Divide by 18, x equals 5. So they have this ratio, right, from 7 to 11, A and B does. And we know that we're dealing with a factor of 5 because that's what we just solved for. So this right here, this is angle A. This is angle B, all right? They always are going to be written in the same order as here. So 7 comes first and angle A comes first. So we've got 7 times 5, then we've got angle B and 11. That'll give us 11 times 5. So whatever you get for x, that's going to be your factor that you're going to multiply by. So we've got 7 times 5, that's 35. 11 times 5, that's 55, all right? And so these are your two angles. And we can check 35 plus 55. Yes, that does add up to 90. Number 10, supplementary, all right? Supplementary means what, all right? It means they add up to 180. So this says angle D and angle E are vertical angles, all right? So we're going to make our vertical angles. We've got angle D and we've got angle E. And we know that vertical angles are congruent, all right? It says angle D and angle E are also supplementary angles, which means angle D plus angle E adds up to 180. So if we think here, all right, if angle D and angle E are the same and they add up to 180, that means the same number plus the same number equals 180. So that means both of these have to be half of 180. So if we do 180 divided by 2, that gives us 90 degrees, all right? So 90 plus 90 equals 180. So that means angle D and angle E are both 90, all right? And if we remember correctly, 90 degrees is a right angle. So that means that both of these are right angles, which actually means our lines are perpendicular, all right? So if two lines are perpendicular, it creates vertical angles that are also supplementary, all right? They're congruent and supplementary. That means they're 90 degrees. Last question, all right, angle bisectors. So this question gives us a lot of information, all right? The first thing it tells us is that TUV is 156 degrees. So I'm actually going to draw that up here because I'm going to assume that we're going to have to be doing some stuff in between. So it says UQ bisects TUV, all right? UQ. So we have some point Q up here. And it's bisecting these two angles. So I'm actually, does that look like a bisector? That looks better. All right, so what does a bisector mean? Remember, bisector means it cuts it exactly in half. So it's kind of like midpoint of segments, all right? So we know both those two angles are gonna be the same. Then it says UR bisects TUQ. So TUQ is that angle right there. So now we have UR, all right? So now we have another angle. Right here, all right, another bisector. So now we know this angle is congruent to this angle because bisectors cut the angle in half. And it says then find the measure of TUR. So we know the full thing is 156, right? So if we have the full thing being cut in half by UQ, by this bisector, that means each side is going to be half of 156. So 156 divided by 2, that's going to be 78, all right? So we know that this is 78 degrees, and also that that's 78 degrees, okay? But it wants us to find TUR. So TUR is this angle right here. All right, so we actually need to cut our angle in half again, all right? Now we know that this side, we know the whole thing is 78 degrees. So what does that mean each half is? So now we're gonna do 78 divided by 2, and I think that's 39 degrees. So now we know that this is 39, and we know that this is 39, okay? So our answer to this problem is that TUR equals 39 degrees. Actually, I should have put that in there. All right. So this is the whole review. All right. I know we covered a lot of stuff. I know I talked about a lot of things. If you have more questions, you can always ask me in class because we're going to have an in-class review too. Good luck. All right. Keep studying. I know you guys are going to do great. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.